Good day, everyone. Reverend Bobby here on the journey. And today, on the journey, I got my friend Ronnie Benson, who was one of my first friends and brothers when I got to Atlanta in 1970 going to Morehouse.
You're
How
telling
you
our
doing
age,
today,
Bobby.
Ronnie?
I'm doing just fine. You're telling our ages here.
Oh yeah, man. Look, they know
Hey,
we
look.
we the elders with wisdom. That's
Oh
why we
yeah,
doing
yes
this.
we are. We've arrived, brother. We've arrived.
Yeah, that's why we doing this to help them out, help them out. Bill, give me a little bit of a snippet on yourself for the people.
Well, one of the things I'm really not good at, and I've never been, even though I think I'm a pretty dynamic guy myself, I've never been a person that really bragged about it very much. But as you know, I'm a graduate of the great, illustrious Morehouse College. Graduated in back in the day with a degree in business administration. And pretty much I've been involved in business ever since. Currently, I'm a real estate professional. I'm one of the few uh, black commercial appraisers and real estate appraisers in the state of Pennsylvania. And I also am a real estate broker. And my daily routine pretty much involved providing consultative services on real estate matters for a variety of entities, businesses, individuals, as well as government agencies. And also my appraisal of various collaborations of relationships with various entities in the appraisal industry, be it companies, banks, legal institutions, and again individuals. And I do work with other appraisers in their reviewing of their work as well. So it's a pretty full plate, but it's one that I enjoy eating off of. So I don't think I can add any much more than that.
I know, but it sounds like the business and the businesses that you are um, wrapped up into take um, take some time to develop relationships and stuff with other people. And along the way, how did you find that worked out in developing the relationships with the people to do business?
Well, I've always been my first job, and pretty much every job after that was involved in sales. I was the first black sales representative for the Pitney Bowes Corporation in Jackson, Mississippi, and and I didn't have a. I started off. I didn't have an urban territory, so and it's not very many urban places in the state of Mississippi, but outside of Jackson, being the capital city. But I worked out of the Jackson office, but I had very small Jackson territory, so most of my work was in the boonies, the backwoods of Mississippi, the Kosciuszos, the Greenvilles, the Greenwoods, the Grenadas, the Cantons, and
Yazoo City.
Yazoo City.
Yes.
Yes, Yazoo City. And and back in mid 70s, you didn't find many you didn't find any black people in Mississippi in any decision making situations unless they were involved in a black institution such as a college or and by that time even school districts were no longer in the control of black people because segregation had ended pretty much a few years before. And so everyone I had to do business with were, other people, and they weren't black people. And so, and Mississippi was not a situation that was very favorable for a black sales representative. But I became one of the top sales representatives because of the fact that without having to compromise myself and just sticking to it and having a for lack of a better term the well, I won't say it that term, but to have the what's the word? Cojones, yeah, cojones, whatever.
Tenacity is
The
a good word.
tenacity,
See,
tenacity.
see, I learned something being a
Yes,
reverend
the
now.
tenacity. I knew
I
those
know you
words.
surprised, ain't you?
I just kept swinging at them, man, and yeah, I always I can entertain people with some of the stories I can tell, from just that experience alone. But it allowed me to develop, I think, a down home kind of communication skills that allows me to communicate with people at different levels, to always approach a situation from the best perspective or the best level. Some of my biggest accounts that I closed with them were not accounts that started with the guy at the top, but it generally started with the guy at the bottom. And allowed me to work my way up through the process or through the organization until I got to the point in time when I got to the decision maker. His decision was was already made for him because his people had made it for him. And so through that process, I developed the ability to, pretty much what I did then, I do it now. I'm proud to say I've never, the topic now is DEI. I've never been a DEI. I had to be a DEI guy. I've never been a minority business, never been any of that. It's always been mano a mano. If you like it, you can get it. If you don't like it, good luck. And that's how I've always. I've never compromised myself in that perspective. And so as a result of that, I've been able to, develop and maintain contacts and find business when sometimes business wasn't really visible, but I've been able to manage to still do it. So I can't complain about it. I'm pretty happy, pretty proud of myself, to be honest with you.
But along the way, in the situational stuff that you was in, when you did hit a wall, what were some of the things that you, Ronnie Benson, pulled on in yourself to help you make it through, help you persevere?
That's a very good question, Bobby. I think sometimes the need itself, you got to eat.
Yeah.
So the need generates creativity, and you begin to just figure out you figure out an alternative way, a method, or an alternative path. And and sometimes sometimes a wall is not there to stop you, but it's there to tell you to go another direction. And sometimes our own pride, sometimes our own tenacity can keep us from doing that. But sometimes it's okay to that's not the right way to go. There's a wall there, and that I can spend all day, all year, all week trying to get past the wall, or I can maybe go down in a couple of different directions, and I might find that the wall ends, and I can just go right back to where I was going to get back on my pathway. So I think with me, my faith in God, and that's gotten, has not always been where it is now, but I think it's always been there. Plus, I had other folks praying for me. My mother was one, but I've just leaned on faith and my willingness to not be combative, but to figure out a way to work with other folks to be able to try to do what I need to get done. And sometimes it's, like I said, you run into a wall, you just go another different direction. Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that, but it takes some flexibility.
Yep.
And those kinds of things, because sometimes, we get so persistent, a little bit anal.
Yeah.
We gonna make this work, and we kind of work against ourselves by not letting some things go. And
100% true.
When did you find out it was okay to let some things go? Because it's hard for most people, when they get an idea or as I tell my youngest daughter, a bee in her bonnet.
Yeah.
It's sometimes hard to let that go and change. How was you able to do that?
Well, sometimes just we're all the victim of hard knocks, the school of hard knocks in some shape, fashion, or form. And sometimes, it's kind of like being in a fist fight, I guess. You're in a boxing ring and you're getting your brains beat out. You're losing blood. you eventually say, well, hold on, I might need to ask the referee to call a timeout. Okay. I may need to go sit down in my corner. I may need to take a 10 count and take a shower. Okay.
Yeah.
And you always have to have a sense of humor, I think, about things. Okay. Regardless, if you keep your sense of humor, you know, it's easier sometimes to make a decision because everything is not, everything is, if you walk away from a situation still breathing, it means that you've probably done okay for yourself. You know, and if you can walk away from a situation in one piece, mentally, physically, emotionally, uh, you can make decisions about what you need. Everything that does not, you come down to the idea, realization that everything is not life ending.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you if you can look at your mistakes, you can look at your obstacles, and you can look at them from what they are. They're not life ending. Okay, you can laugh at it and you can recover from it and you can keep on going.
Well, see, that's a very good. It's a healthy outlook on life, and you know, I think we need a whole lot more healthy outlooks on life. I was telling one of my boys, one of my minister friends, some stuff, and I said, "Well, you know, this is what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of my life. So why rush and worry about it and get all bent?" And he said, "Man, that's a good way to look at it." And I said, "Well, you know, of course, it takes us a long time to get to this point where." You know, we operate out of wisdom, but you know, I found it to be much better. Have you found it to be a much better thing
Oh,
operating like we got some sense at this
hey,
stage in
you
life?
know, and I mean, I'm not, you know, even at this age, I'm not immune to doing dumb stuff. Okay,
Oh no,
and
no, we're not saying that. Yeah,
yeah,
we're not saying that. We just saying it's at a minimum, but it's a whole lot better than it was, wasn't it?
oh, of course, much better. And then you learn how to, like I said, you learn that, and I think it comes some of it comes with age. But you know, you do learn and you do become appreciative of the fact that you know everything is not life ending. You can, you know, if you can pick up and you know move on and you know in some shape, fashion, or form, you can begin the process of rebuilding, regardless of how bad it is, regardless of what you may have to do, may have to change. You know, you can move. There's a way to move forward. That sometimes you don't see it, you know, until you have to see it. But you know, there's always a way to move forward. You just have to be willing to, you know, accept the circumstances. And figure out a way. If you like the circumstances, great. If you don't like them, you can, you know, you got to really say to yourself, okay, there's no magic cure, there's no magic wand that's going to put this aside, so I got to deal with it. So it's better. Do you want to deal with it with a free and open mind, or do you want to deal with it trying to deal with it and be angry that you got to deal with it?
Mhm,
Okay, or
mhm.
be upset that you have to deal with it. You can't deal with anything in a worthwhile way with anger, with dissatisfaction. You have to deal with it with a you know happy heart, for lack of a better term, and a clear mind. And if you can do that, regardless of what it is, you can pick up the pieces and move on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know, it seems like, you know, for me in life, and you know how it's like almost a follow the yellow brick road stepping stone thing, because
Yeah,
you develop skills and stuff along the way that you find are transferable. You can move them back and forth, you know, through endeavors that you take in life. And how important do you think that is, or has it been for you in your life and realizing you got these skills? Because sometimes we don't even realize the skills we got.
it's been important. You know, I am who I am, and you know and you are what you've accumulated over your lifetime. And the good, the bad, the ugly, the smart, the dumb, the crazy, the sane, the sensible, the illogical. You know, it's all a part of us. And you have to draw from, we draw in our everyday movements, we draw from those decisions, that accumulated knowledge. And, so, in terms of dealing with things, I think the question you're asking in terms of when you're faced with a problem, you one of the things, and you accused me once of taking, trying to take ministerial. You had friends of yours taking ministerial duties in terms of things that they say, but sometimes you just gotta pray for your answer. And believe it, I just had a situation myself, that was, oh man, it was pure, what did I do? Okay. Well, now I got to get myself out of it. Okay. And it was a pretty bad, crucial situation, but, and I mean, to the kind that you could wake me up. I couldn't sleep. And so I had to come to this. And so I'm figuring it and I'm working it. I'm looking at it. I got paper and calculator, pencils and all this stuff going on around me. I'm working it out. But in all of in all of my own applications, it was all coming up. Oh, this is still messed up. Until I basically 23rd Psalms, making about that, make a meal in the midst of my enemies, make a table for me in the midst of my enemies, and the whole concept of if you ask, you can't ask for direction and then lead the way. Okay. You can't walk up to somebody and say, hey, I'm trying to get to such and such a street. And then when they started, they say, okay, come on, I'm going to show you how to get there. And the next thing you know, you walking ahead of them. Okay. That makes no sense to anyone. That would make no sense to anyone. However, we'll pray to the Lord for an answer. And all of a sudden, we running off our own stuff. Okay.
But most of the time, put a pin in it right there, because I want to get this one in. Yeah, but most of the time, Sip, and minister, rascal, heathen, whatever role I'm playing. Sometimes when I pray to God, I'll be wanting them to tell me and confirm the answer of my craziness to me. And then when God says something else, I'll be like, oh man, come on, are you serious? Yeah. Why we do that, man? Why we do that?
With it's, I don't know, it's like, we have our own human frailties, and I guess the question you're asking is, how do I know I'm talking to God, or is this just me talking to me? Okay.
Now that's a good one. I wasn't trying to get that deep, but go ahead on, Ronnie.
And I've, in the course of, not thinking time, and I found that when it's his thinking, when it's his direction, it's like anything else that's taken care of. Once something is taken care of, there is a emotional satisfaction. Yeah. Okay. When God takes care of something, I find there's a spiritual satisfaction. Okay. When I take care of something, when it's me taking care of it, and I'm not sure, I immediately know it's me taking care of it, because I got to think now, because with me taking care of it, I got to figure out something else to do. Okay. It's not, I don't get a peace or a satisfaction. I just get something else to do. Okay. When I turn it over, when I'm following the path that I feel is a God-given path, then I pretty much don't have to do anything but just follow the lead. Okay, and
that's what I call it. Follow the yellow brick road. Because
just follow. Yep, just follow the lead, man.
when
Just
when
follow the
when
lead.
when I be doing it, we kind of piecemeal it. Get this little piece over
Yeah, yeah. You
here.
got. I'm gonna do this. Well, I got to go do that first.
Yeah,
Or I gotta do
right.
that.
Now
Yeah.
because I did this, I gotta go do that because I gotta cover my butt because I did this, and it might be a little shake and bake on it because
Yep.
I'm trying to do it.
When it's God given, the pieces most of the time are already there. You ain't gotta do one thing. You gotta do. Oh wow! Oh yeah. Okay. All you gotta do is just all of a sudden just look at sometimes what's already there. And
But okay, let's talk about it's already there because all the times when I ended my sermons, I'd always say it's already done. And we know it's already done. We know it's already there. But what finally pushes us or pushes you to that realization? Because even though we know it's there, even though we know it's done, we still be sometimes running around like a chicken with our head cut off.
Well, it's a we are all worked in progress. Okay. Yeah. And as you begin to move through, I think as you begin to move through his plan, it's almost like you're being carried through. Okay, it's just like and when it's like when we all know when something is carrying us and be it physically or mentally, we know when we're being carried. And I just find for me personally that when I feel like I'm being I'm just following that I'm just like I'll be following somebody if I was asking them for directions and they was taking me where I'm going. I'm just following along. I'm doing what I'm moving. I'm doing the things that I have to do to get to where I'm going. But I'm basically just following the lead.
And see, I can follow directions pretty good. I was telling a friend of mine, she said, she a teacher. She said, "Oh, you follow instruction well." I said, "Yeah, they check that little box on my thing." And the only time I have a problem with directions is when I used to be down south and they say, "Well, you go down that road, but if you get to the fire station, you're gone too far." Well, okay, so where I'm supposed to go? Just for a little bit of funny.
Well, before GPS, I used to I'd have a book of maps.
I had a map book, yeah.
Yeah, I had a map book. Then I had particular areas. I had large versions of the maps because I need to be able to see little roads that were not clearly visible. Because I get around a lot. I tell people I'm the most well-traveled black man in Western Pennsylvania.
All right, my man.
I go there. And when I say well-traveled in Western Pennsylvania, that's basically the boonies. People in this area have a tendency to be a little bit, I can't think of the word for it. That word slips my mind. But they basically stay in their own environments. They don't. Yeah. If I live in Pittsburgh, I don't pretty much go outside of Pittsburgh for anything. Yeah. I think most people are like that. They're pretty acclimated to their own communities.
Yeah.
But with me being with what I do for a living and the work I do and the variety of what I do, I go to places that I've been within the 10-county Western Pennsylvania region. There is no municipality or area that I haven't been to and don't know something about it intimately. So, with that being said, I used to go to maps all the time to get where I had to go. And so like now, I just pop on the GPS. I'm, enjoy the ride,
It's so much easier because when I was doing certain things, I had driving territory. I had big spotches of Illinois, down below the city.
And there's a lot of rural stuff in there. You're outside Chicago, you're in the country.
Man, when mommy and daddy bought the house back in 1958, we live on 95th Street, just for a reference.
Yeah.
On 111th Street, which was like 2 miles south of us, it was a dairy farm.
Oh, yeah. Cows and chickens.
So it was just like, you know, and oh man, you talk about the chickens on Wentworth. They used to have the live chickens in the cage. You go get you a chicken, wring your neck, that bad boy jump around the backyard. I'd be running, that chicken be rah.
And you had a lot of people who were from down south, you know.
But you know, it wasn't as every day as it was, you know, like down, you know, where my great grandfather then was on the farm in Florida. But we had some exposure to that life, and I was talking to Clinton, and I didn't know he was a farm boy.
Oh, he's a big farmer, man.
Yeah, he's like, Bobby, you know, come down here.
He's a serious farmer.
Yeah, okay. but what surprised him was when I told him, I said, you know, yeah, I was at a military high school, but I got 2 degrees. He said, you got 2 degrees? I said, yeah, I got an academic degree. And I got an agricultural degree.
Okay.
Because we had cows and farms, we would get on the hay baler and bale the hay and stuff because we used that money to help support the school.
Yeah, that was a model of. There were a couple of schools. I know Piney Woods Institution. I think Piney Woods Institution in Mississippi. They were a school that pulled from all over the country, and they were agrarian, you know, based school.
Yeah. Well, you know, whatchamajiggin, Florida A&M, agriculture and mechanical. You know, you had to learn the agricultural stuff and the mechanical stuff to keep the equipment running.
Yeah, and
very practical stuff. So
that was a model for Black education for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So in all of your travels around Western Pennsylvania, where you at, right?
Yeah, Pittsburgh side.
How has it enriched your life experience just by the things that you've seen and you know?
Well, you know, growing up down south, you know, back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, I've become more diverse in my contacts, friendships, relationships than I did growing up down south because, you know, races were, you know, in Mississippi, it was segregation until pretty much until I was probably in my late teens. I can remember, you know, hell, I was one of the first ones to do certain things like go to the movie theater downtown, or eat a hamburger at the Woolworths, or go to a dance at the country club. So
my boy, Freedom Rider Sip.
You know, me and Poochie. So we did our share of what, you know, teenagers could do at that time. But yeah, I would say probably, you know, the one thing has been my interactions with other people, because I'm, you know, whereas down south, you know, Black people back then they have a significant, well, the majority, you know, not necessarily a majority, but in some situations a majority, and you could function interracially without having to really deal with other people. But one of the things that having been in this area, you know, my contacts and interactions with other people, you know, of all persuasions, including folks that, you know, are pretty open-minded, as well as people who are closed-minded, is, you know, giving me an ability and appreciation for how to deal with them all, you know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like Michael. Michael, you know, when Michael Jordan made the comment about Republicans buy tennis shoes too, you know. Well, you know.
Well, it's
racists spend money also. Yeah.
It's really the truth, because once upon a time I did a program through an insurance company to help kids go to school.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you was, you know, Black, white, Asian. You know, the young girl had to translate to her parents every word I said. Yeah. They didn't know, but everybody wanted something better for their children. Sure. Everybody. And one of the things, Sip, in my thing with people is, why can't we start from that place of familiarity where everybody wants the same thing and build from there? But look, I enjoyed my time with you this morning, Ronnie.
It's been blessed, man.
And you gonna
I
come
didn't know
back?
this was gonna be so in depth, but it's been fun. I like.
You thought I was a shallow reverend. You was thinking about the party on Lawton Street. I know we used to go to.
405 Lawton Street.
But look, Ronnie, I appreciate you coming here, man, and sharing, and we could do this again one day.
Oh, anytime, man. Anytime.
All right. I look forward to it. Well, people, that's it for the journey today. And my friend Ronnie Benson, we're gonna holler at you soon. Peace.
All the way from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania.
That's football time. That's football area.
Mike Dicker country.
That Mike Dicker country. Speak my language. All right, boy. I holler.
Hey, anytime, man. Take care. Thanks a lot. Peace.